So Assassin's Creed Mirage is launching in just a couple of days now, and I wanted to go over everything you need to know about the game before launch. There is going to be plenty of Assassin's Creed content right here on the channel, so if you guys are new, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications. But with that being said, let's get stuck right into everything you need to know about Assassin's Creed Mirage. Now, firstly, for just the absolute basics, just to get them out of the way, the game is launching on October 5th, and it is launching on the PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and the Xbox Series consoles. Now, it was originally launching on October 12th, but it was obviously brought forward 1 week early, most likely to avoid being too close with Spider-Man, which is obviously launching on October 20th. From what we can tell, the game seems to be very ready for launch, so they've obviously gone gold a while ago and they seem confident enough to bring it forward, which is good for us as players and probably good for them not having to compete with Spider-Man. Now, in terms of the cost, the standard edition will be around $49.99 in the US, which translates to €49 for those of you in Europe, £44.99 if you are in the UK, or around $79.99 if you are a fellow Aussie. As for the deluxe edition, this will be only around $10 more no matter where you are. So that is 59 USD, 59 euros, 55 GBP, or 89.99 here in Australia. Now, touching on the deluxe edition, what you will get in that deluxe edition is the digital art book, which has 78 pages worth of concept art from the game. There is also the digital soundtrack too, and then you'll get the Prince of Persia inspired deluxe pack, which comes with the sand skin for your horse, eagle, and Basim himself, as well as the Hourglass of Time, Sandsword, and Dagger of Time, all inspired by the Prince of Persia series, which is not only somewhat relevant due to Persia obviously now being known as Iran, obviously being very close geographically to where this game takes place in Baghdad, but it is also a Ubisoft original, and we know that they absolutely love having crossovers in their games. Now, just touching on that setting as well, as I mentioned, the game takes place in Baghdad in the year 861, a golden age for the city which would actually be destroyed only 5 centuries later. Now, Ubisoft have told us they've put more focus on the city of Baghdad than previous Assassin's Creed games, meaning that it is a fair bit smaller. It is roughly a third or even a quarter of the size of the Valhalla map, but they've also confirmed it will be a lot denser with crowds of NPCs. It's going to be a lot more detailed in its design, and especially in terms of like the parkour and the stealth potential. We've already seen plenty of gameplay and stuff where they have gone really in depth with that sort of environmental gameplay where you can sit on a bench and then do a stealth kill from there. You can, stealth kill from bales of hay and stuff like that. All of that has obviously been in pretty much every single Assassin's Creed game ever, but they've shown through all the gameplay we've seen that they are definitely doubling down on that a little bit with this game, with just everything essentially being a bit denser than a lot of the previous Assassin's Creed games. Now, in terms of the size of the game, in terms of how long it's going to take, Ubisoft have confirmed it will be roughly 17 to 20 hours if you kind of just follow the main path of the game, or it will be between 25 and 30 hours if you try to do all of the side content, potentially even longer depending on how much you want to explore. Now, that is obviously much smaller than the recent Assassin's Creed games. Valhalla and Odyssey were both very, very big, whereas this is definitely a lot smaller in that sense. A lot of people have had complaints about that. There is this sort of notion that, the shorter a game is, the less it should cost and stuff like that. To be fair, this game actually does cost a lot less than pretty much any AAA games out there at the moment. But on top of that, just because it's shorter, it doesn't necessarily mean that is a bad thing. A lot of people have actually been calling for this with the Assassin's Creed games. They've become a little bit too bloated. They're very, very big, and that doesn't necessarily mean they're bad, but they are a little bit more, I guess, straying from the path of the previous games. And this one is going to be a little bit more in line with sort of those original Assassin's Creed games that were much more condensed. And obviously none of those games, when you look back at Assassin's Creed 2 and Brotherhood and Revelations, the Ezio trilogy, those games were also about 17 to 20 hours, maybe a little bit more depending on the side content. And yet at the time, they did not feel like they were small by any means. So I personally think it is a good thing that the game is going to be a little bit smaller. It's also probably perfect for this time of year when there are so many other games coming out. I don't want to be playing a 100-hour game when 2 weeks later Spider-Man 2 is coming out, so it is probably perfect to be launching this year. And I think it is really good that the game is going back to its roots. Now, speaking of going back to their roots, in terms of the gameplay, that is also very much going back to its roots. There won't be any of these sort of RPG-like leveling systems. Obviously, Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Valhalla, they were a little bit more in line with like a typical RPG. compared to the previous Assassin's Creed games. That is not going to be the case with Assassin's Creed Mirage. The focus is going to be a little bit more on that sort of stealth and parkour experience that we do obviously all recall from the previous games. Again, that has been there in all of the recent ones too, but it hasn't quite been as much of a focus. They've showcased a lot of gameplay where they're sort of really focusing on that stealth system again, being able to blend in with the crowd and get assassination kills from sitting on a bench or hiding in some certain place and then actually dragging the kill into there and hiding them. That is obviously all the stuff that they're sort of bringing back and focusing on. And even just the feeling of the city, like I mentioned, there are much denser crowds and there are a lot more guards around the city, meaning that the city of Baghdad is going to feel very much alive and real, very similar to how it did feel in, like I said, the Ezio trilogy, where walking around in different cities in Italy, it all really felt like that was actually a proper lived-in city, and that is something that is going to be very, very good to return to in the series. Overall, the game seems to be focusing a lot more on the quality and I guess the detail than the size, something that although it has been great in the recent Assassin's Creed games, they have definitely still had so many complaints of being a little bit too bloated, like I said, and sort of straying too far from that core Assassin's Creed experience. So this game is absolutely going back to their roots, and it is going to be more in line with that like typical old school Assassin's Creed game, which I am definitely very excited for. Not only going back to their roots in terms of just the design of the game, but also in terms of the story, seeing as it is actually set before most of the games in the series. Other than Odyssey and Origins, it is actually the third earliest game in chronological order, and it definitely feels like they are focusing on the, I guess, hardcore Assassin's Creed fans with this game, trying to bring us something that we can remember from all of our older favorite Assassin's Creed games. Like I said, the recent ones have all been solid, they've all been received very well, but I do think Assassin's Creed fans are looking for something a little bit more in line with the previous games in terms of the originals, and Mirage definitely seems to be promising in that sense. But that is going to do it for this one, guys. That is everything you need to know about Assassin's Creed Mirage. Like I said, the game is launching in only a few days now. In fact, as of tomorrow in Australia, because obviously we are a little bit in the future here, the game will be out. There is going to be plenty of content right here on the channel. So if you are new, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications. I'm going to be doing plenty of different guide videos showing you how to get some of the coolest stuff in the game. So make sure you don't miss out on that. But with that being said, thank you all very much for watching. You guys have a great day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.